Hello folks, and welcome back to the Culture Books podcast. My name is John and I'm joined by
Sheridan.
And this is episode 23 of our exploration of use of weapons by Ian Banks. And we are coming to you from Ubud in Bali, Indonesia. And in the background you can hear the sounds of the rainforest. So hopefully our voices will carry through over the top of the birds and the geckos and the cicadas and the crickets and the frogs and the toads. Let's not forget the toads.
There's a few toads.
Now, we are covering in this episode, we're in the part of the book called Remembrance, and this is chapter 3, as in I, which means there's only I, and I left, and...
We're done.
Something is done. Something will end. We'll have counted down to something. So that's very exciting. Sheridan, what do we normally do in this part of the podcast?
You have 30 seconds to recap the story thus far, and I will count you in. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, no, sorry, I've got the wrong timer there. I had the right timer, that's very annoying.
Must be all that bintang.
I have had very little bintang today, thank you very much, although I do have some bintang now.
Maybe it's just the smell of DEET that's gone to your brain.
Okay. All right. Count me in again.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the Culture is a galactic race of super intelligent machines that keep lots of humans as pets. We are exploring the story of one Sheridan in Zakalwe. In one arc of the story, we're going forward in time, seeing where he's going, and in another, we're going back in time. And in this chapter, we are coming to the long hinted at tabular iceberg world, which was mentioned in a lot of his dreams and flashbacks. And here we are to find out what happened there. Okay, now Sheridan has 30 seconds to tell us what happens in this chapter, in amongst the tabular icebergs. Okay, and your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
This is really a Zakalwe Smar origin story, but we start with Zakalwe in hospital, not remembering how he got shot in the head. He's fighting a war for, not his war, but just he's fighting. And he seems to have annoyed some people and been shot, and he is trying to get his memory back, but he's not doing a very good job of it, and someone kidnaps him and puts him out in the ice, and he meets Smar. He rescues him.
Okay, yes, indeed. I found this chapter to be, it's just really, it could be a standalone short story about a dude, couldn't it? Except for the bit at the end when Smart turns up.
Maybe.
This could be a pretty standard hospital horror story, which is a genre in itself.
Perhaps, yeah.
There's a lot of gaslight to this.
Yes.
There's a lot of gaslight to this. Yeah. So I'll just read the opening paragraph, because I like it a lot. The hospital ceiling was white, like the walls and the sheets. Outside on the surface of the berg, all was white as well. Today was a whiteout, a bright scour of dry crystals wheeling past the hospital windows. The last 4 days had been the same while the storm wind blew, and the weather people said they expected no break for another 2 or 3 days. He thought of the troops hunkered down in trenches and ice caves, afraid to curse the howling storm because it meant there would probably be no more fighting. The pilots would be glad too, but pretend they were not, and would loudly curse the storm that prevented them flying. Having looked at the forecast, most would now be getting profoundly drunk, which is the way of pilots who don't have to fly, particularly in wars where the chances of dying are extremely high. It's okay, Sheridan, the setting.
What about it?
What do you think?
Cold.
Yes. Did you feel... I felt there was... The Star Wars influence of Hoth was strong here.
Is the timing right for that?
Yeah.
It would be. Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, it's sort of interesting he's the only one in the hospital.
He's in his own room, so he's the only one in the hospital.
It says there's a comment, I can't find it now, that there hadn't been any major battles recently and he's basically on his own.
Oh, because they ship everyone out when they're... Yeah, okay, all right. And then the description, the outer walls of the hospital were painted bright red so that they would not be attacked by enemy aircraft. He had seen enemy hospitals from the air, strung out across the white glare of the Berg's snow hills, like bright drops of blood fallen frozen from some wounded soldier.
I mean, I guess they're moral. There's a morality to the fighting.
Oh, it's highly ritualised.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole reason they're fighting on this iceberg is so that the people on this planet don't have to have fighting going on in their actual homes and cities.
There's some rules of engagement going on.
Well, it's almost, it's a step up from, say, a game of rugby, but, there are a lot of rules and a lot of, ritualisation, because this isn't a total war. This is a very symbolic war being fought between the two sides who, we don't even get names of the sides, I don't think.
No.
There is no sense of the stakes. Zakalwe's just found himself a war, and...
It's weird, though, that he's doing that, because this is pre-culture.
Yes.
This is pre his indoctrination. So what's he... I mean, clearly what we're going to find out in the next 2 chapters is what has messed him up so badly.
True, but we knew he had been a soldier in his original life.
Yeah, but why is he just out fighting wars that aren't even his war?
Well, when you've got a limited set of skills and some enjoyment of fighting wars, then whatever he's running from, he's found himself his own little war. And then I think in this chapter we get a lot of the dangers of being an outsider fighting in other people's wars, because he hasn't understood the social mores of his fellow soldiers and the rules of what's acceptable and what isn't, which has put him in a great deal of jeopardy. Now, what did you think of the nurse?
She's a fairly two-dimensional character.
Talib?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's not much to her. She's just a narrative sort of tool, right?
Well, I mean, she drives the dialogue in this episode.
Yeah, but her whole purpose is to get Zakalwe kidnapped.
Yeah.
By whoever's after him, so that then he gets out into the snow and Smart can rescue him. Like, she doesn't really do anything else.
Yeah, I guess my question on her would be, she betrays him extremely badly. She pretends to be his friend.
Yeah, but she's also like...
She pretends to care.
Yeah, but, I mean, she sort of does care. Because, she's like, oh, make it quick.
Oh, do you think that's caring?
There's just not a lot of substance to her. She doesn't really... She's just...
I mean, she is war hospital nurse number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, but she does have that sense of horror in that she's lying to him. She's giving him pills that aren't doing what she's telling them they're going to do.
True.
Yeah, which comes into that whole hospital horror genre where you wake up and people tell you they're doing things for your benefit when really they're not.
But I mean, who... Like, you don't know her situation. She could be in quite a bit of danger, or if she doesn't do what whoever these...
She's not going to defy the powers that be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is the whole thing where obviously he was meant to die and he hasn't, and now everyone's worried about what he remembers and whether they need to kill him again. I would personally assume if I'd tried to kill someone, they were going to remember that I'd tried to kill them.
Probably, yeah.
And I'd just be moving to, how do we whack him?
Yes. It would seem like it was quite easy in this hospital to whack him as well.
Oh, I think there's obviously a bit of hesitation. And they don't want to get caught. I think partly, you don't want to be caught killing your own guys, because it's bad for morale.
Especially, he does seem to be liked.
Yeah, I mean, he tends to be good at war. This little line here. This had happened before, yesterday, hadn't it? Hadn't he forgotten her name yesterday too? Which is getting this whole damaged consciousness vibe going on.
But I mean, he's clearly got amnesia.
Yes. Yeah. And like a bit of him is like, I don't even know where I am. What am I doing here? Who am I? I mean, there's a big who am I going on here? And it's like, what's my name again? Which obviously Zakalwe forgetting his name has been a bit of a recurring theme in this book in moments of crisis. But even though he's not sure what's going on, he has managed to steal that pair of scissors.
Yeah, well, he senses he's in some sort of danger.
True.
Although maybe that's just an innate, personality trait of his?
Or to seek out a weapon.
Ooh.
I mean, the whole book is about what is a weapon and how do you use them. So I guess that, you're right, it's very on brand. And I do like this next little bit. Talib took the chair away each time because he'd gone crazy when he'd first seen it, when he woke up for the first time. Even after that, when his mental state seemed more stable, he would shiver, wide-eyed with fear, when he woke each morning, just because the white chair was sitting there at the side of the bed. So they had stacked the ward's few chairs out of his sight, in one corner, and Talib, or the doctors, brought the chair in from the corridor with them when they came to see him. He wished he could forget that, forget about the chair and the chairmaker, forget about the Staberinde. Why did that stay sharp and fresh after so many years and so long a journey? And yet, whatever had happened just a few days ago, when someone had shot him, left him for dead in the hangar, that was dim and vague as something seen through the storm of snow.
It's pronounced Staberinde.
I mean, I'll have to defer to Peter Kenny, but okay. I just think Staberinde sounds better. But anyway. All right. What did you think about our latest chairmaker reference? Have you gained any?
Well, we're clearly coming up to the chairmaker. It's got to be revealed.
Got to be revealed. Okay.
If they don't reveal this chair thing, it's going to kill me.
Okay, it might kill you anyway. And then, what did you think of the bonhomie of the dialogue with the other aviators?
Well, says Insil. Do you think he's on, like, I don't think he knows. I think he is genuinely, like, worried about him.
A friend?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, the fact that someone's tried to murder in the base one of their pilots should be extremely concerning to everyone who's not in on the conspiracy. Yeah.
I found the oh wow, hot nurse, I hope you're getting a sponge bath. Like, it's a bit.
It is how young men talk, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if that had been me, I probably would have tried to make that joke too. Probably still would. I mean, it's not like you never make off-colour jokes.
True. It's just a bit cheesy.
Sure. Okay.
But the other dude, I mean, he's obviously one of the ones that killed him, so...
He's commander?
Yeah.
What about it? Okay, we're not quite up to him yet.
Sorry, you said the...
Yeah, the blokey dialogue.
Oh, sorry, you did say, what do you think of his comrades or something?
Yeah.
And I took it to mean both of them.
Sure. Yeah. So I do like this line. I remember being in the mess and that card game. Then he remembered seeing the white chair at his bedside and filling his lungs with all the air in the world and screaming like a hurricane until the end of time, or at least until Talib came and calmed him. Livuetta, he'd whispered. Da, ... Livuetta.
What was the da?
Darkens.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
He shrugged. Then I was here. Then Sars. The good news is we managed to get the blood off the hangar floor. I expect it to be returned. Deal, but we're not cleaning it. I wouldn't say Banks is limited to blokey dialogue, but he does do, particularly in this book, the dialogue between young men particularly well. I think it's part of the appeal of this book to young men, which in turn becomes problematic when they take the wrong lessons out of it. But yeah.
True.
And then this line from his friend, you don't have to be here, but you are. You choose to fight, and a lot of them resent you for it. It makes them feel like cowards, because they know that if they were in your boots, they'd be on land, telling the girls what a brave pilot they have the chance to dance with.
Yeah, well, I mean, this goes to the whole thing, like, why the hell are you there, Zakalwe? Like, you need, that doesn't really make sense to anybody, and is unexplained at this point.
True. We do, in the next chapter in this arc, get an explanation of how he ended up there.
Don't spoil
But
it.
I'm not spoiling it. I'm just saying it's not left completely
I was
hanging.
assuming it would be revealed.
There is a line about why he's here. Well, at least it would be appropriate. He'd arrived here frozen, so why not leave the same way? He entertained the thought that some cell memory, some bone-remembered affinity had drawn him here of all places, where the great battles were fought on the titanic, crashing tabular bergs, carved from their vast glaciers and swirling like ice cubes in some planet-sized cocktail glass. A scatter of ever-shifting frozen islands, some of them hundreds of kilometres long, circling the world between pole and tropic, their broad backs a white wasteland splattered with blood and bodies and the wrecks of tanks and planes. To fight for what would inevitably melt and could never provide food or minerals or a permanent place to live seemed almost a deliberate caricature of the conventional folly of war. He enjoyed the fight, but even the way the war was fought disturbed him, and he had made enemies amongst the other pilots and his superiors by speaking his mind. So that's a bit of a sense of what's going on here.
Yeah, but I mean, how does he even have a right to come in and tell them, like, how they should be fighting their war?
Well, I mean, he must have qualified to be a pilot with the skills that he had.
Yes, but that doesn't give him a right to be, like, judgmental on their...
No, but this is the trouble for any mercenary joining someone else's wars. Then we meet Thone, the squadron CO. What do you think of Thone?
I mean, he seems like a company man, doesn't he?
What do you think of his flowery perfume?
Well, that's just what you get when you're an officer, isn't it? You, like, start to...
Not necessarily flowers, but I guess as much as anything, partly it gives a sense of character that he's a cologne guy.
Yeah.
And partly it drives the plot later on when Zakalwe can't see anything, but he can smell the distinctive cologne. I get the feeling cologne was something dudes did more in the 80s than they do these days. I don't know many cologne guys in my personal life now, but I used to. That could just be the way my life's changed.
I think it might be your life's changed, yeah.
For the better, I might add. But yeah. Then there's him in a bit of a flashback. High on the drink and his nerves, he'd left them thinking he was for them, and gone straight to Thone. Thone the hard but fair, Thone the dislikable and petty, Thone the vain, the perfumed. But Thone the man known to be pro-government, though Sars and Seal had once said the man was pro-government with the pilots and anti-government with their superiors. So Zakalwe's gotten wind of a conspiracy and then thought that going to his boss was the right thing to do. Which, I mean, if you got wind of a conspiracy to bring down the government, Sheridan, what would you do with that knowledge?
I would go to no one within my immediate area.
You'd call external investigators.
That's why they have whistleblower protection and all
Yeah,
that.
they work
That doesn't
really well,
work.
don't they? Still sees the whistleblowers getting whacked, but yeah.
True, yeah.
All right, and then there's the line. They went to one of the hangars and somebody went to the lift controls and he still could only dimly see the floor in front of him and could not raise his head, but he could smell flowers from the man on his right. So that's that bit about the Thone's cologne giving him away. Yeah. And so then we get things really start ramping up because Zakalwe's figured out that Thone's in on the conspiracy and has tried to kill him, and then the police, Talib, call the military police, do it now, this really is urgent. Medication first, Captain. Well, as soon as I've taken it, you promise? Promise. Open wide.
I don't think it seems a bit stupid that he trusted her, really.
What else is he going to do? He needs her to call the police.
Yeah, but he could have, like, put it under his tongue and, like, spat it out.
True, but I guess he just trusts her because he's had days of her being his caregiver.
Yeah, but I'd be sus.
Right. And I told them it was urgent. They say they're on their way, Talib said, coming in, not with the chair this time. She looked at the windows where the storm still blew. And I've to give you something to keep you awake. They want you perky. I am perky. I am awake. Quiet. And take these.
This is when I really would have been like, oh, this is sus ass. This has got some misery kind of vibes going on.
And then the line, He fell asleep, clutching the scissor under the pillow. Yeah, you're right. Misery vibes is, I guess, and this does. I'm pretty sure predates Misery, but
Yes.
yeah, like this is almost. This could be Hitchcock. Those 30-minute TV shows Hitchcock did, so he could get access to camera gear to make his movies.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
now, when he falls asleep, this is an unusual part of the story because it tells the story, but he's not conscious.
True.
And that is weird.
It's not from his personal point of view.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit strange, actually.
Okay. I mean, it's not first person though.
No, but I don't think there's another point in the book where he's not present.
Wait till we get to the end, and then we'll revisit that question.
Don't.
Okay. No, I'm just saying there have been bits where it's ambiguous earlier in the book. But yeah, in fact, when the stuff with the children, which admittedly is his memory of that time, has lots of bits where he's not present for the narrative being described. But the certainly it is a bit of the camera pulling back, so the audience can get a sense of what's going on. I don't think you could do this sort of hospital horror without pulling back the camera every now and then.
I don't know if you needed to, though, actually. Couldn't he have just woken up in the snow? And then he knows he's been messed over, like...
Yeah, I guess you could. I mean, Ian M. Banks was a young author. Not everything he did was perfect at this moment. He obviously felt it was necessary to do that bit of description.
I mean, maybe you do need it because you need Smar to be coming at him, although he is awake at that point.
Yeah. So then we get him waking in the snow. He woke and knew he was dying. The blizzard had already numbed one side of his face. One hand was stuck to the hard-packed snow beneath him. He was still in the standard issue hospital pyjamas. The cold was not cold, it was a stunning sort of pain, eating into him from every direction. What would you do if you woke up in the middle of a blizzard?
Well, you've really got limited choices there, don't you?
Sure.
You'd have to try and move. I mean, it's horrible. It sounds horrible.
I mean, the big thing with being really cold like this, though, is that just closing your eyes and drifting off into the warmth of unconsciousness is also an option.
Yeah.
And he's obviously extremely close to that.
Yeah, well, every time he moves his hand, bits of it are sticking to the ground.
Yeah, which means he's on ice, not just snow.
Yeah.
But yeah. A little line here. To have come all this way, he thought, just to die in somebody else's war. How silly it all seemed now. Zakalwe, Elithiamel, Staberind, Livuetta, Darkens. The names reeled off, were blown away by the sapping cold of the howling wind. He felt his face shrivel, felt the cold burrow through skin and eyeballs to his tongue and teeth and bones. And yeah, then you've got the bit where he's ripping skin off his hand. And then, interestingly, whose name does he call as he thinks he's dying?
Darkens.
Yeah. And then, having called her name, he sees a woman walking towards him through the storm, which must have been extremely confusing in that moment.
Yeah.
And the line here, she walked easily up to him, and the storm behind her seemed to part at her back, and he felt himself in the lee of something more than just her tall body, and something like warmth seemed to seep through his skin wherever it faced her.
Sorry.
That's the sorry was a bigger problem than the sneeze, but yeah, go on. What do you think of the description of Smar turning up for the first time?
Well, she's cool, she's calm, she's very smart. She doesn't really seem too worried that he's going to die. I mean, I assume they can just revive him, put him back together.
Well, there's a limit to that, but yes. I do like this line then. An atheist my entire fucking life, and it turns out the credulous assholes were right all along. He wheezed, coughed. Would you surprise them too by not turning up? Which I thought was a beautiful way to look at it. And so, what do you think at this moment when I mean, obviously, you know he's not going to die because you've had a whole book of his perspective after this. So you knew there had to be some sort of rescue?
Yeah, yeah.
Were you expecting Smart to turn up, though? With a culture module?
I wasn't, no.
Right. So were you like, yay, Smart, woo?
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you wonder why they picked him and how long they've been following him, because that's clearly what they've been doing.
Yes. How long they've been following him is a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Yeah. They obviously know his name.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so...
And they've chosen to, like, not approach him until he is literally at the point of death, which, I mean, I guess if you're trying to convert someone, like a spy or something,
yeah,
that's what you do. You wait until they're at their... So they have to be grateful.
He hasn't got many options at this point.
Yeah, but he also then, he's, like, indebted to them.
Yeah. Also, there is a point of when you're looking to recruit people to be a contact agent, you want their narrative to have played out where they are.
Yeah.
And, you know, as in if he just dies in the snow here, no one's even going to know that he's been recruited by the culture, because they're just like, you know, which of the mounds in the snow is him? Don't know. Yeah, pilot walked out into the snow, disappeared. There's a lot less loose ends.
Yeah.
Yep, and then the module sort of looms up out of the storm, which, as we often say, if they made a movie out of it, this would be a great scene. Although I used Google's ImageFX image generation for this, and what I liked was that it actually gave me a lot of control over what elements in my prompt sentence actually mattered, and gave me some sense of bumping them up or turning them down. So we might try using ImageFX again in the future. It's certainly not getting much publicity compared to DALL-E or just ChatGPT at the moment, but yeah. Cool.
I feel like she should have given him something more than slippers.
Well, she literally made his body stop being cold and pulled him into the module where, you know...
Yeah, but he's got to get to the module. It seemed like, fair wait, I would have given him a coat.
Right. Okay.
She just gives him some slippers. That, he seems like he needs a bit more.
Then entering the module, she walked, he stumbled into the orange warmth of the module interior. The walls looked like highly polished wood, the seats like burnished hide, the floor like a fur rug. It all smelled like a mountain garden. He tried to fill his lungs with the warm, fragrant air. He swayed and turned, stunned, to the woman. "This is real?" he breathed. And then, "Welcome aboard, Sheridan in Zakalwe." He fainted. So, that's the end of that chapter. No ship names, quite disappointingly. What do you think, Sheridan?
Well, it's feeling like things are going to start to be revealed.
Yes.
With haste.
Yeah. There's not a lot of book left.
I thought so.
Oh.
That's the...
Siri agrees.
Yeah.
It was a good chapter.
Okay. Favourite character?
Smart.
Okay.
Well, all the others were kind of douchebags.
Yeah. I mean, Talib was playing a bit of a double game that you didn't suspect until...
Yeah, but as I said, she just seemed boring to me.
Okay. Right. Even the Kathy Bates elements didn't...
But she's clearly not Kathy Bates because she's clearly hot.
Okay. Well, you know.
I mean, Kathy Bates was actually not a bad-looking woman. That she just was made to look quite dumpy.
It's funny when you go back and look at Misery when it was made now at our age. It's like she's not unattractive, but yeah.
Well, apparently I think she was at the Emmys recently and said, do you know what it's like trying to get a date after you played Misery?
Oh.
Apparently it was quite a funny routine she did.
Oh, okay. Right.
Anyway.
Okay, well, anything else you want to say on this one before we close off?
I'm definitely looking forward to, I mean, maybe not the next one, like the next chapter I am, but that's obviously in the...
Other arc.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looking forward to the next one in this past arc.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, well, I hope people have enjoyed the sounds of the rainforest from our resort in Bali, and we will see if we can knock out another episode in Bali before we leave, but no promises. And okay, folks, thank you very much for listening, and we will be back as soon as Sheridan reads the next chapter. So, fingers crossed. Yay. Bye now.
I thought you were going to ask me what you thought was going to happen.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Before we go, Sheridan, how do you think this book's going to end?
I think Zakalwe's going to die.
Okay, and in the other arc?
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. All right. There we go then. And on that note, we say goodbye.
Bye, folks.